Saludos. It's your host with one of the most educational channels about the criminal justice system that I know of in existence. As most of you already know, this channel covers interesting and controversial subjects in the gang and crime world, police and corrections field, and political and social change arena. Panelists and interviewees are all subject matter experts. We encourage comments and feedback, but insist that it be respectful of differing opinions. Just as a reminder, we are a hate-free zone. I want to thank our growing number of viewers for their patience while I put out a few special videos that have been on hold for quite a while. I know many of you have told me that you've really enjoyed the Mexican Mafia roll call series, and we will continue that real soon. Over the years, I forget sometimes, not everybody, and certainly not everybody in our audience, has previously been an officer or a convict or previously been exposed to the world of prison gangs in Califas, out on the street, or behind the walls. I probably should have put out this episode as a little lesson before I even started the Mexican Mafia roll call series, but here it goes. The MA has some reglas, or general rules. They do not have a written constitution like some other prison gangs, and that is the MA comes before everything, even your family. You're to share property, drugs, proceeds, etc. with your carnales. You are never to show weakness or cowardice in battle. You're supposed to never politic against another carnal without just reason. Of course, they don't always follow the rules. You are to never mess with another carnal's wife or have sex with her, and often that includes girlfriends. A lot of guys have been killed over that rule. You are to never engage in homosexuality. You are not to discuss the MA in public. In fact, most of these guys will deny that the MA even exists, although there has been exceptions where they discuss it in the press or on video. You are never to be a rata. But yet again, a lot of guys will be working with a man and giving up information, but all the time acting like they're still solid with the canales. You're never to play favoritism. And as far as favoritism, they do that, as you've seen so far and will see with future individuals. Originally, you were to never talk with the enemy, being Nuestra Familia or BGF, but that has changed with the end of hostilities agreement, which was pretty much in place by about 2014, 2015. And then MA members were let out of the shoe. So currently, they will often talk to the other side, especially Nuestra Familia and Aryan Brotherhood. A lot of times they still don't want to deal with the BGF or black gangs, the Africanos, because to be honest, a lot of these guys are very prejudiced. Supposedly every canal has an equal vote, but there are some guys we call shot callers who have la palabra pesada, the heavy word, and they have more voice. A lot of times other guys will wait and see what they do. And if they follow the wrong canal, all those other canales in that car or who supported them could go down with them. Now, originally, these guys were blood in, blood out gang, but that has changed also. Sometimes they will let in guys who have good drug connections, or sometimes even allow guys in who are just relatives and haven't yet killed anybody. And like I said, if a certain individual has a lot of clout, other people usually won't say no. Lame has a strict screening process for candidates, but there always seems to be exceptions that they come up with. You're not to tread on another carnal's turf. This rule really came after the MA edict. However, this does occur, especially when federal MA and state MA bump heads over taxes collected in different barrios and from different drug dealers. Also, in addition to these general MA reglas, there are some generally accepted reglas for camaradas and a whole different set of reglas for just basic sureños. And then there also is the MA edict. I'll have to cover all of those subjects in different episodes so as not to confuse you now. Just remember, there are always exceptions, justified or not, of why they may not follow these rules. They make them and they break them. So why even join a group like the Mexican Mafia? Well, I've been told it could be quite an adrenaline rush, an ego trip. You get preferential treatment, often access to free drugs, commissary, all kinds of things in the joint that may not mean much to people on the outside, but mean a lot to guys on the inside. You feel a sense of power. You can inflict violence on somebody for the organization. You can do it, get away with it, and get away with all kinds of things others don't. It is like having a license to steal and a license to do whatever you want. Now, there is some accountability, but only if you anger many other emeros, which has happened before when individuals are the king of the hill, but then get too greedy when there are too many complaints from camaradas and sureños that they're abusing their authority. And that's when often they get a pegada, they get hit.
Don't misconstrue that to think that every Mexican Mafia member is a walking genius or anything, because some of them are just as sharp as rocks. But some of the guys sit back. I mean, we're sitting here doing live, and we have nothing better to do than educate ourselves. So we take college courses. I mean, we read all this classical literature, this Eastern philosophy, and it's absorbed. I mean, we utilize this. We put this to work. In terms of the training, I mean, we all go through basic education as to where to hit people. I mean, where vital organs are, the manner in which we hit them, called shifting gears or over-the-shoulder stabbing motions, which are best to sink the knife the deepest. But there's two areas basically concentrated on. That's the chest area, the mid-torso, and the white lower quadrant of the abdominal area under the ribs, which is liver shot. I mean, this is massive hemorrhage either way, and that's where we try to hit people when we stab them. In terms of weapon manufacturing and education and assaults, I mean, this is almost Disneyland stuff, because we learn this as Sureños. We come up and we know how to make bombs, zip guns, explosives, crossbows, knives, everything. I mean, we're well schooled and well heeled. You put me in any room, anywhere, I'll come out with a weapon, no matter what. I'll come out with something usable.
In Southern California counties, and even in some areas of Northern California, the Mexican Mafia has a lot of clout within the county jails. So much so that a street gang member knows if they're arrested and have to go to jail, but haven't paid their taxes, or if their gang is in bad standings, that individual and maybe his entire gang will be put on a green light list. It is sort of like buying an insurance policy. If you are in good standings, you are usually covered. If you're in bad standings, all kinds of bad things can happen to you, the least of which is getting beat up. Most youngsters do not personally know any MM members, but most have heard of them, and they either fear them or admire them. When discussing the murder case trial of Robert Dope Hinojos, Los Angeles Deputy District Attorney Amy Murphy told jurors the worst thing about it was this wasn't even personal. There was no indication the men had ever met before the day of their murder. To Hinojos, Murphy said, killing Velasquez, his victim, was a cold, calculated business decision. Just to be clear, La M does not tax every single Sureño youngster on the streets of Southern California. They are not all soldiers for the Mexican Mafia, as I've heard some state. But if a Latino dealer starts making major deals and major money, the MA will eventually find out about them and then pressure them, extort them, and rob them, often with violence. If a dealer is paying taxes, he is supposed to be left alone and protected from many other canales taxing him. However, there have been cases where a dealer is getting hit up by two or more emeros or their ambassadors. These individuals will usually complain to at least one of them, who will either take action on the other one or make a deal with the other canal. There are no generals or captains in the California Mexican Mafia. There are generals and captains in the Texas Mexican Mafia, and many people mix them up. In fact, when Gangland ran their very first show on the Mexican Mafia, myself and Robert Moulcom Rill provided them with multiple pictures and other information on the California Mexican Mafia, but they mixed it up with information we provided them on the Texas Mafia, even after we told them they were separate and that there was a big difference between them. Also, they never credited us, so we broke all ties. I will have to say they got a lot better at crediting and accuracy as they went along in their series, but still tended to hype things up more than it really was. As most of you know by now, I am big on accuracy and not afraid to admit that I was wrong if shown good evidence of facts. But I do appreciate you guys bringing stuff to my attention. I do still miss things. I'm monitoring a lot of individuals in a lot of different groups, so thank you for that. Also, I don't want to make it sound like I'm glorifying any of these groups. My main intention is to educate the community and hopefully warn some youngsters about what can happen if you get locked up. The choice is yours. If you join up, you're going to have to follow these reglas or else. So I hope this video has helped you gain a better idea of what it's like to be an MA Canal, at least in theory, if not in reality. For now, this is Gabe Morales signing off. Gangsters, cops, and politicians.
Open your eyes.